Alright, so in this video I'm going to work on the front forks on this Mad Dog trike. I'm going to replace the oil in them. Oil's definitely pretty soft or pretty thin, I'm going to say. Really spongy. Pretty much all that you have is an internal spring. So I'm going to show you how to take apart the front end, get the forks out, drain, measure the oil, and then add some 15 weight fork oil. So first thing I'm going to do is block up the front end. I've got the scissor jack. Let's slide up underneath the front end. Alright, so now that I've got that blocked up, first thing I'm going to do is take a Phillips screwdriver. On each side there's 2 screws. Undo these 2 screws, get the front fender off. Front fender's off. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this bracket. Little tab right down here at the bottom. That goes to the bottom edge. This bracket, and then on the opposite side there's another bracket over here, same size. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove the brake caliper. It's a 12 millimeter. So on the back side of this brake caliper, it's a little bitty spacer. Cut this bottom zip tie. This zip tie is just holding the wire. This is your speed sensor. The sensor here picks up on these magnets that are around the disc. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is remove this axle bolt. It's a 14 millimeter on the head side and a 17 millimeter on the nut side. Axle bolts out. Be really careful. Make sure you keep the spacer. This is the left side spacer, and then there's a right side spacer as well. So we're going to set these on the side of the bike. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the bolts on either side. I'm going to first start by loosening up the turn signals. That's that same 17mm wrench. Just going to get this wire out of the way so that way I can get to that top one easier. So once that's loose on that side, since we're doing both sides, loosen this side up too. Alright, so we're going to start on this side, loosen these up a little bit. They don't have to come all the way out, and you should be able to twist this fork back and forth. There you go, and the fork is out. Just that simple. So now we'll take it over to my bench. I'm going to hold this in a soft jaw vise and take this top nut off. Alright, so I got the camera moved. Again, soft jaws on the vise. Going to tighten this down. There we go. You don't want to squeeze it too tight, but at the same time we want to make sure we got enough pressure to keep that nut from spinning. So we got everything tightened, make sure it's not too tight. We're going to take this top nut off. This happens to be a 12mm hex. Fits right down inside here, and the easiest way I found is actually to use an impact to take it off. Again, make sure it's in reverse. There you go. You can see it loosening up. Alright, be careful because there is a spring. So I was putting downward force on that, and as you can see, the spring just pops right up. But that top nut is off. And yeah, so next thing I'm going to do is I'll take it out of the vise. I'm gonna move my camera around. Absorbent mat laid down here. I've got a measuring cup. This is like a painter's style cup, just a small one I got from a local hardware store. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this spring out. You can see some of the oil will come with it a little bit. Try to do this over that cup. Alright, so I got the spring out. Let's shake it off a little bit. I'll lay that on that mat, and then I'm going to dump the oil out. What I'm doing is I'm going to measure how much oil is in here. And then I'm going to fill it back up with the same amount of oil that I'm measuring out of this. All right. Looks like all the oil's out of it. Set this off to the side, and I have a clean cup that I'm going to pour in. Again, not to celebrate anybody's brand, but this is 15 weight oil that I'm going to add back into it. So I'm going to fill that up. You notice how clear this is, but clear versus kind of dirty water. I'm not sure why it's so dirty. And it's really hard to tell on the camera, but this is 15 weight is a lot thicker. It actually feels weight-wise between the two. This actually 15 weight, you can tell, is heavier just in general. So I'm not sure what the viscosity of this is, but it's not much more than about dirty water. All right, so I'm going to take the fork and I'm going to put it back in my soft jaws. Over here at the vise. Alright, Alright, so once I got the oil added into here, I'm actually going to remove it from the vise here for just a second and set it on my bench. And I'm going to slowly, very slowly, push down on this fork tube so it's compressed all the way to the bottom. And then slowly lift back up. And do that a couple, 2 or 3 times. And what that does is it kind of burps any oil out of the bottom or in the anywhere from pouring it. It kind of brings that to the top. Alright, so I'll put that back in the vise. And so now I'm ready to add my spring. Again, small coils here, big coils, or tight and looser coil, however you want to describe that. But anyways, the close together coils go down. Alright, and make sure you check your O-ring for any nicks or cuts or anything like that. These are brand new, so I shouldn't have any, and it looks good. But just double check that if you've got some wear on your front end. So I want to place the cap on here, and to start I'm going to use a ratchet and just one hand push down and slowly turn, and you should be able to feel it grab. You want to apply even pressure. There you go, it started to go down. Keep applying downward pressure the whole time. Alright, that last little bit, perfect. So nut is all the way down inside of there, and what I like to do is put the socket back in and just kind of bump the ratchet. And it's spinning in the soft jaws, but I'm also making sure that it's just tight up here as well. That O-ring will keep this from backing off, but as long as it's tightened all the way down properly. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that I've got a good seat to it as well. As far as an official torque, I'm not really sure, but I don't have anything to properly grip this, and I don't want to mar this surface. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled the other one out. This has got the caliper bracket over here on this side. So it's kind of easy to tell what side goes which. So I've got it in the vise. Put my socket in here. Impact, applying downward pressure. There we go. Put my ratchet on here. Downward pressure. There we go. And that is fork number 2 done. So now it's just putting it back together. And yeah, that's it. Super simple. And let me know if you guys have any questions. Make sure that your speed sensor is lined up with their magnets right here. So spin your wheel slowly. Make sure that lines up.